So this week has been exciting with a mix of good news and bad news. Bitcoin dropped 20% in very little time, but we also saw Bakkt launch its first Bitcoin's future exchange. We're joined once again by Dave Zeiler, Monday Morning's crypto expert, to explain what's going on. So Dave, thanks for joining us again.
Good to be here.
Let's start with the bad news. Bitcoin dropped 20%, a staggering amount, from $10,000 per Bitcoin to about $8,000. What happened?
Well, it looks like a big whale. I saw this, in the Twitter, and people track these sort of things. It looks like they sold $1.2 billion worth of Bitcoin pretty much all at once. And that's really all it takes. That's a huge amount of Bitcoin to go at once. And even if that wasn't enough to move the price all by itself, it certainly was enough to trigger a big sell-off. Because the drops, as we often see in Bitcoin, was very quick. And it went down in stages, but the lines tend to go straight down on that.
Yeah. So is this something that's concerning you in the long term?
In the long term, it's not really that concerning. I mean, if this had happened in the stock market, 20% in a week, people would be freaking out. But in crypto, it's not that big of a deal. It's happened before. It's not that unusual for it to go up or down in very large chunks very quickly. So the crypto community is not all that stirred up about it. People haven't really been talking about it a huge amount. They're certainly not that concerned about it because they've seen it before. They're not worried. They know it's going to come back.
So flipping to the good news, what's been going on with Bakkt? They launched their Bitcoin futures exchange. Can you talk a little bit about how that launch went?
Yeah, it was long delayed, so this was very highly anticipated because these Bitcoin futures are going to be physically settled, which means that when the contract is settled, the buyer has to deliver the Bitcoins, not US dollars, which is the way the CME futures have been traded. They've been trading since December, those Bitcoin futures. So it launched this week, and everybody was excited about it because it's taken so long. This anticipation is built for so long. And the thing is that people thought it was a flop because we haven't seen that many contracts. The first day, it was 72 contracts. The second day was 166 contracts. And we've seen, volume like that in the days since. But I don't think it's too early to call this a failure because a lot of people, I believe, are waiting on the sidelines. They're taking a wait-and-see approach to see how all this goes before they get involved. And really, if you want to judge whether this is a success or failure, you're going to have to wait a much longer period of time, like many months, maybe even a year, before we really know what kind of impact this is going to have, who else is going to get involved. But I do know a lot of the big players have at least expressed interest in doing this sort of thing. And we'll see how long it takes for them to jump in.
Great. So just kind of super quickly, a last point that we had talked about a little bit. There's a new startup company that's getting into using Bitcoin in consumer spending. Can you talk just very briefly as to what they're up to?
Yeah, it's a company called Fold. They have an app where you can use it to spend cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, in a retail environment. The retailer gets fiat currency, but you're actually spending your Bitcoin. And on top of that, you get a rebate, some cash back, but in the form of Bitcoin. It also works on top of the Lightning Network. So that means it'll settle quickly. And this is really good because it shows it's another way for people to use their cryptocurrency, to spend it, use it as a currency, because it's money. So this goes to show there's a lot of people working. This is by far, not the only thing. There's many, many projects being worked on that are like this. And it shows that progress is being made in this and that it's going to help to people to adopt Bitcoin as we go forward.
Great. Well, thanks so much for kind of shedding some light on the price drop, Bakkt's new futures exchanges, and then Fold, this new app.
Yep.
We'll catch you next week.
I'll be there.